Recording in progress.
Okay, folks, we're all set. We're gonna start. 7:02. Welcome, everybody. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Land Use Committee, not in our normal room because we wanted air conditioning tonight. So we're meeting in one of the side conference rooms. Here, we're gonna start. We're gonna stop talking. Again, I'm Andrea Kelly. I'm the chair. With us in the room, we have Councillor Lucas from Ward 2, Councillor Wadovitz from Ward 6, Councillor Rado from Ward 7, and Councillor Farrell from Ward 8. On Zoom, we have Councillor Downs from Ward 5. We have a couple of other councillors. I'll introduce them in a minute. First, we have some staff. We have the acting clerk, Cassidy Flynn. She's acting clerk and she's acting land use clerk in the meantime too. From the planning department, we have Kat Kemet, Katie Wewell, and Sandria. I'm sorry,
Berman. That's quite all right. Berman.
I think we will be joined by perhaps one more councillor virtually online from the committee. We have also councillors not on the committee and on Zoom virtually joining us, Councillor Block from Ward 4 and Councillor Maliki from Ward 3. That's all I see for now, but I'll continue to welcome and introduce more people if they come. Our first item tonight is number 187-25, which is a request to extend a non-conforming single-family dwelling in the Business Use 2 district and to extend non-conforming height at 19 Cork Court. And first we'll hear, is there somebody here for that petition? Is that a nod from someone? No?
Yes. Yep. Yes. Good evening. My name is Brian Sparrow. I'll be presenting 19 Cork Court.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, great. So this project is an existing single-family home. It's been a single-family home since the 1880s. It's in the business district. That's why it has an issue with this addition in terms of land use. Can I share my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, so share the screen. So to illustrate what we're doing, this section of the home is all existing. This addition on the rear here is what we're proposing to add on. It's about a 20 foot wide by 18 foot long structure, about 350 square feet per level. If we go down a little further, we can see that everything that's already existing is pretty much being carbon copied. So these are existing photos of the home. So the addition would actually be inbound of the back of this, in the back of this house. So it's not encroaching anymore on any setbacks. It's actually reducing the nonconformity on the addition. On the back, in terms of grading, what we're planning to do is there's an existing retaining wall that runs down the middle of the backyard. It makes it largely not usable. So in terms of grading, the only thing that we're looking to do is to take this existing grade and level it to the existing grade on the other side. This photo here shows it perfectly, where there's a retaining wall that's not doing anything. It's just cutting the backyard right in half. So there will not be a significant grade change. As the addition comes out here, again, it will be almost carbon copied. There'll be a very small, a 3 foot tall retaining wall, just enough access to get out of the basement. And if we go to the site plan here, I can show you that. So on the left side, this is what's existing. This shows the garage, the existing home, and this retaining wall that's not really retaining anything, just dividing the backyard. And in our proposed plan here, you can see that the addition is inbound of the house. It does not encroach on any of the setbacks, and we've eliminated the retaining wall and made the grading smoother in the backyard. So that's the crux of what we're looking to do here. And I guess at this point, if there's any questions or any feedback.
Great, hang on, there probably will be when we come back to discussion in the committee. Thank you, Brian. We're going to hear from planning now. Oh, before we do that, I want to say welcome. We have Councillor Humphrey, who's here in the room, who's joined us, and Councillor Leary, who's on the committee, and from the ward that this project is in, who's joined us on Zoom. Okay. Is Kat doing this one?
I am. Let me just pull up my presentation. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kat Kemet, Deputy Chief Planner for Current Planning. This is petition 187-25 for 19 Quirk Court. This is a special permit request to extend a non-conforming single-family dwelling in the Business Use 2 district and to extend non-conforming height and number of stories. The site consists of an undersized lot, which is 5,808 square feet, where a minimum of 10,000 square feet is required. There's an existing single-family detached that does date back to the 1800s. So the use is legally non-conforming because it's in the Business Use 2 district. The existing height is non-conforming at 28.4 feet, where up to 24 feet is allowed by right. And the front setback is 2.6 feet, where a minimum of 10 feet is required. The area has a mix of parcels that are zoned Business Use 2, multi-residence 1 and 2, and a little bit of public use as well. Though this parcel and many nearby it are in the business zone, the immediate area is mostly residential with a mix of single and multifamily dwellings. Some of them are on lots that are similarly undersized or feature buildings that have a non-conforming height. The petitioner proposes to construct an addition to the rear of the existing dwelling. The work will extend the non-conforming residential use in the business district, so that needs relief. The work proposed doesn't create either a half or a full story, but as the building exists today, there is a very small amount of space above the second floor. So this work won't extend that non-conformity because only 2 stories are allowed by right. So even though it's not a half story or a full story, it's a little hair above the 2 stories. So it needs relief to extend that. And the ridgeline of the house itself will not be increasing, but the topography, as we've heard, is changing slightly. So it will result in a slightly increased height of 28.8 feet, where it's currently 24.4 feet when taking into account the change in grade. So the extension of the height needs relief since only up to 24 feet is allowed by right. When reviewing this request, the council should consider if the site is an appropriate location for the addition that will extend the non-conforming height and number of stories, if the addition will adversely affect the neighborhood, if the addition will create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, if access to the site is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, and if the proposed extension of the non-conforming residential use is substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood. We have no major concerns with this request. The area has several non-conforming residential buildings in the business zone, and this building has existed as a residential use for many years. The relief is needed for the proposed height, but that's largely due to the minor shift in grading of the site. The height of the house itself is remaining the same, and the addition will be located at the rear of the dwelling, so the impact when viewed from the street will be pretty minimal. And happy to pull up any plans or answer questions as they might come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kemet. Are there any members of the public, either in this room or online, who have comments or questions about this project? If you're on Zoom, you could wave at us, or there's one. Terry Sorrow. Ms. Sorrow, you're up.
Hi, sorry. Terry Sarro, 44 Cook Street. With Quirk Court, it's such a narrow, tiny street. Now, is this going to, is it a resident that's still living in there, or is this just a change to the back of it, or can I ask that question or not? Okay.
I do want to ask all of your questions at once, and then, or we can have Mr., if that's your only question, we can have Mr. Sparrow answer that.
Yeah, well, we all know Court Court. The concern is it's a very narrow street. I mean, you're lucky to even get a fire engine, or I mean, so I don't know if it's going to be a family that's in there, or is it going to be redeveloped or whatever? Those are some of the concerns, like Roger, who he can't be on because he doesn't do Zoom. And he abuts in back there. So those kind of the questions. If it's just an addition, I guess that's what he's trying to do. Those are some of the questions from the neighbors there for me to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have Mr. Sparrow answer that. It looks to me like right now this is a single family home and you're going to continue to have it be a single family home. Is that right, Mr. Sparrow? Mr. Love, I see your hand up and I'll call on you next.
Yeah, correct. So, Chris Love is actually the homeowner. They've lived in the house for I believe 3 or 4 years. So, they actually just had another child. They're looking to expand the home, but they're going to continue to live there. So it will remain a single family and the same family as well.
I'll second that, Ms. Sorrow.
She's mute. She's mute. She's mute.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Lee Belleville.
Mary Lee Belleville, 136 Warren Street. I think this looks like a good project. I'm glad to see it's not a tear down and that a family is expanding so they can stay in the house. Thanks.
Very much. Any other members of the public? If not, we'll bring it into committee and see what questions or comments we have here. Any land use committee members have comments or questions about this project? Oh, Allison Leary. Welcome from the Cape.
Thank you very much. I apologize for being a few minutes late. You know how the Cape traffic is after the Cape Cod baseball games.
Taking the night out of your vacation week to be here, so thank you.
Well, that's my response. That's what you have to do sometimes. But I also share Miss Belleville's appreciation that this is an expanded single family home. It's not a tear down. A growing family is living there. Those are all really great things, and they're making an improvement to their home. I'm very familiar with Court, of course, and I understand Miss Sorrow's concerns about that. It is very tight in there. So I just wanted to make sure that there was fire access, and I also wanted to know if any of the neighbors had weighed in about, or he've talked to any of the abutters about this project.
Mr. Lover Sparrow, can you address that question about reaching out to neighbors? Go ahead. Let me just make one minute.
Hi, Chris Love. I live at 19 Court. Yes, I've talked to a few of my neighbors. Most of the neighbors on the street are renters, and so I have not actually been able to speak to the homeowners. But in general, I have not had any objections. There's been other construction and improvements on the street, and I think everyone is in general appreciative of people and projects that are improving. I'm sure no one is looking forward to the noise, but we are used to it. It's happening all over the neighborhood. And this one is, like you've been saying, not a tear down. That's what everyone's happy with.
I'm glad to see that. Yeah. Are you, has fire been there? Have you had any issues with fire engine access?
I'm sorry, has fire been there to inspect, or do you mean have they responded to emergencies?
No, just in terms of, as you go through the permit process, that's usually one of the things they look at.
I'll nod to Brian, who's been handling the permit process, Brian Sparrow, but yes, we have gone through.
Okay.
Yeah. So going through the permitting process, we haven't had specific feedback from fire. They did approve the smoke detector plan, but there was no feedback on the access. this project wouldn't change the access either way, though. You know, it's keeping the same density and you know, there is a street in the rear of Court Court. I forget what street it is behind, but there's actually two ways to get at this house as well, from the front and the rear.
Okay.
It's an unnamed alley. It's not a street.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what street there is there.
Yeah.
And do you have parking there, off-street parking there now?
Yes. Yes, we have a two tandem spot.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
also off the street in the rear here. I don't know if my screen is still shared, but in the back they have a garage that goes to this paper street as well. So they won't be blocking streets, street access.
There's a helicopter flying overhead. I just muted. It sounds like a really great project, and I really don't have any concerns about it and wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Leary. Any other members of the land use committee? Yes, sir.
So I echo Ms. Belvin's comments.
This is Councilor Lobovic speaking. Just
and-
letting you
and
know.
Oh yeah, Cummings. Yeah, Cummings in the back there. Yeah.
Just echoing Ms. Belville's comments, and I'm really pleased to see that you're going to be staying in the house and preserving the house, and we really appreciate that. So thank you and best of luck.
Thank you.
Councilor Farrell.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a quick question. I visited the site and I think it's just terrific also that you're going to do this, but you tell me there's a garage, you tell us there's a garage. Could you point that out?
Yes. Yeah. So if the screen is still shared, can everyone see?
No.
No, you're not sharing.
Okay.
Let me just share again.
Let me share here. Okay, so the way that the property currently lays out, this is the front of the home where my cursor is. This is Quirk Court, and they have off-street parking in this area. And then off of the back, where the cursor is, this is that street that I was referencing before. They have a garage that faces towards the back street. And we can actually see that if we go to these photos. This is from the backyard, standing on the back street. So you can see the garage is right here, and this is the back of the home where the addition will be right here.
Thank you. And is the yellow line down the garage on the side facing, is that a signal flag of some kind? Just curious, there's a yellow line going down the garage.
The
The
yellow
previous owner painted that. We think it was an attempt to replicate the green monster at Fenway. It's the wrong color, but I think that's what the intention was.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, perhaps Councilor Leary, you would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and a motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Please say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Let's look at the findings and conditions.
All right, I'm pulling up the findings and conditions right now. So for one, we have the site is an appropriate location for the addition that will extend the use because there are other non-conforming uses nearby in the district. The proposed addition that will extend the non-conforming height will not affect the neighborhood adversely because it will be at the rear. The addition that will extend the non-conforming height will not create a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians because no changes are proposed that will adversely impact parking or circulation. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And the proposed extension of the non-conforming residential use is not more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is because the area features residences with varying sizes and scales, and the proposed project is not incompatible with the massing and size of nearby dwellings. And for conditions, we have our standard referencing conditions with the site plan and architectural plans, standard building permit conditions, and standard occupancy conditions. So nothing too different here with this one. And that concludes the findings and conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Kennett. Okay, we'll take a vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
President Laredo,
Aye.
the motion passes 8-0.
Good luck with your project, and I echo the comments that were made. We're really happy to see a family, same use, staying in the family, expanding your place. So good luck with this project. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Okay,
Thanks
the
very
next
much. Thank you.
project, many people here will be happy to hear. The petitioner has asked us to hold this tonight, so we're not actually going to go over it this evening. This is number 145-25 at 270 Derby Street. So all we need to do is make a motion to hold. I believe this is in Ward 4. Councillor Block, would you like to make that motion?
I would be delighted to make a motion to hold.
Okay, we're going to quickly hear from the petitioner, but thank you for the motion. Grant Gow?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. We actually was wondering if we can stipulate a condition for stipulate a conditional approval, because the reason why we're asking for continuance is because we the client actually decided to extend the driveway another 5 feet to observe the parking setback. So I know we originally requested to have that condition waived. However, we found out that we do have enough space in the backyard to extend that driveway. So we're wondering if the committee will entertain a conditional approval with that. We just didn't have enough time to update the site plan for the hearing.
Yeah.
So
I will ask planning about that. I believe if the site plan is going to change from what we have seen already, that it would be more appropriate to hear this fully with the revised site plan next time. Katie, Ms. Wewell, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so Mr. Gao asked yesterday afternoon for a continuance so he could revise the plan. So planning has not received any updated plans for this item, and as it stands, they require zoning relief, I believe, for the FAR, a non-conforming side setback, and to allow parking within 5 feet of the street. They would like to redesign to eliminate that relief, but the last I heard is that Mr. Gao wanted a continuance, and we do not have updated plans, so we would not have a plan to reference in the plan referencing condition. So I don't believe that this could move forward tonight without those updated plans.
okay.
That's what I think too. Did any other members of the committee have other thoughts on this? Otherwise, Mr. Gao, I think you now have a couple weeks to revise that plan and get it to planning, and we'll put it on, an agenda to try and get back to you on this and not hold you up too far. But as Ms. Wewell said, we really do we in the planning department need to see a plan that we're referencing when we would vote on order of conditions on this. So a motion has been made to hold by Councillor Block. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed?
Aye.
Great, unanimous. We'll see you again, Mr. Gao.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next item is number 189-25, which is a request to further extend non-conforming FAR at 39 Valentine Park. Do we have someone from the petitioner here to speak to this proposal?
Hi, This is John Chase from Chase Architecture representing the homeowners. Sorry, just had a little trick there with getting unmuted. I'm happy to present the documents on file and go over the project. Unless Kat would like to do that first, and then if there are any follow-up questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
No, we're ready for you to go ahead first.
Okay. I'll share my screen, please. This is Valentine Park. You can see it's sort of on the inside curve of the road. It's a non-conforming lot with regard to lot area and frontage. It's also pre-existing non-conforming to FAR and lot coverage. There's an existing two-car garage, unknown when it was built, but it's a slab on grade and it is rotting, needs to be rebuilt, which we'll be doing, but placing it in line with the detached structure setbacks for side and rear to give a little bit of space between it and the home. And we're adding a very small mudroom entry here, which will allow the homeowners to come and go from the garage and enter the house, where currently you enter directly into the kitchen. There is no other entry other than the front entry to this home. And we're adding a small patio in between those two for outdoor living space. To mitigate some of this coverage, we're removing a porch that was built by the prior homeowners in 2013/14, which created a non-conforming condition. But since it's been 10 years since the date of that construction, it is now an existing condition, and we are going to be reducing that area. This is the front of the house. Center stair colonial. You can see the garage in the rear there. And this is from the garage looking back at the rear of the house. This is the porch that we'll be removing, and a single-story addition here encapsulating that rear door so that there'll be a mudroom in this location. You can see here in the floor plan the relationship of all the parts. So you enter into mudroom and into the kitchen, new garage. And from the exterior, you can see here it's just a small single-story, low roof with a pitch, similar in style and scale to the house and its surroundings. That's about it.
Mr. Chase, hang on in case there are any questions for you later.
Sure.
Now we can hear from planning, and let's welcome, by the way, Pam Wright, Councilor Wright, also from Ward 3, has joined us virtually.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sandria Berman, Planning Associate for Current Planning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please bear with me as I go ahead and do this. And let me know if you can't see my screen.
That's good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, so I will proceed with this presentation for 39 Valentine Park, petition 189-25, requesting special permit relief to extend the existing non-conforming FAR with the proposed construction of a mudroom addition and a reconstruction of an existing detached garage. As you'll see from the aerial map, the subject property is located in a single residence 1 district, situated in a neighborhood of primarily single-family homes in West Newton. The 10,242 square foot property is currently improved with a 2-story single-family colonial-style residence constructed in 1945 and features a detached 2-car garage for an existing gross floor area of 3,656 square feet. The zoning in the immediate area and surrounding neighborhood is typical, with single single residence 1 and 2 zones. The petitioner requests special permit relief to extend the existing non-conforming FAR from the existing 0.36 to 0.38, where 0.31 is allowed. For the gross floor area will increase from the existing 3,656 square feet to 3,888, for a total increase of 232 square feet. Criteria to consider for the special permit approval: that the proposed increase in the non-conforming FAR is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, and that the proposed increase in non-conforming FAR is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood. So planning has no major concerns and notes that the FAR is only a slight increase in existing nonconformity from 0.36 to 0.38, approximately 232 square feet, where 0.31 is the maximum allowed. The submitted site plan brings the existing nonconforming lot coverage that Mr. Chase discussed closer to compliance from the existing 21.7% to 20.8%, where 20% is the maximum allowed. The proposed garage blends with the existing architecture of the home. It's compliant with height and setback requirements, and the placement on the lot will not be significantly different. The proposed rear mudroom is also not visible from the street, and it will not alter the street aesthetic. And finally, open space will remain the same as the existing, which is meeting the minimum of 65%. That concludes the planning presentation for petition 18925, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions you or the council members may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Berman. Welcome to the team. Are there any comments from members of the public? Or again, I can also ask Mr. Chase, if you or the homeowners reached out to any neighbors about this and gotten any feedback on what people nearby think of it?
We have the homeowner online right now. If you could enable her microphone, she might be able to answer that question for you.
Spell the name so we know who to unmute.
Oh, sorry, Annie Ingram. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yes, we've spoken to several neighbors nearby, and the project is on smaller scale to recent work that's been done on Valentine Park, and no concerns were raised.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Or anyone? Okay, yeah, Councilor Laredo.
Your word, correct. I'm happy to move to close the public hearing.
Great, I appreciate that. I drove by. I agree that this will be not a significant change and fits into the neighborhood, and I will be happy to vote in favor of making the motion, President Laredo. Let's vote first in favor of closing the public hearing. If you want to do that, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. So let's take a look at the findings and conditions.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Please let me know if you don't see it coming up shortly.
Yes.
Okay, so here we have the draft order. You'll find below here the findings, and we have that the proposed increase in the non-conforming FAR from 0.36 to 0.38, where 0.31 is the maximum allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, as there are similarly sized non-conforming dwellings and accessory buildings on similarly sized lots. And 2, that the proposed increase in non-conforming FAR is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming FAR, because the proposed mudroom addition and garage are subordinate to the dwelling and will be minimally visible from the street. You scroll through, we have the applicant's information. And finally, we have the standard conditions outlined to include under item 1, the standard plan referencing conditions here. Under item 2, the building permit standard conditions. And under item 3, the standard occupancy permit conditions. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And if there's any questions, please let me know.
Thanks very much. I think we're ready to move on. Councilor Farrell.
Just because I'm new and don't understand all the rules here, I want to be clear that I stopped by the house yesterday. It's a beautiful home. I think it's going to be a terrific project. The homeowner was not in, but I did speak to a person who's taking care of the children. I left my card. The homeowner did call me back, but I unfortunately wasn't able to speak with her when she did. But I just want to make sure that that's on the table. And I was out there. So thank you.
Thank you. I think we can take a vote.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with lovely house, be even nicer later. Chase. Okay, our next item is number 188-25, which is a request for a special permit to allow Keno at 1064 to 1070 Chestnut Street. If there would like to present your,
So
what
I'm
you're looking
Paul
for here.
Giglio, third generation from Echo Bridge. We do have Catherine Adams, who's going to start. Just to
Okay.
give everybody a rundown, and then my father, Clement Giglio, is also on the screen.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Adams, would you like to do a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Paul. And I'd like to share my screen if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Both sides. So yes, as noted, this is an application by the Echo Bridge Restaurant to add Keno, which is special permit only. The owner of Echo Bridge, Clement Virgilio, is with us virtually. And the plan this evening is for me to briefly introduce the project and the relief requested. Then Paul is going to provide a brief history of the restaurant, which has been in the family for 63 years, and explain the desire to add Keno. Echo Bridge is located at 1068 Chestnut Street at the corner of Chestnut and Elliott Streets in the BU1 zoning district. The restaurant is approximately 3,800 square feet and contains 163 seats. Mr. Virgilio applied for a Massachusetts lottery Keno permit earlier this year and appeared before the Newton Licensing Commission, who had no objection. So the relief we are seeking is simply section 610.2, which allows Keno in Newton for restaurants which are licensed by the Newton Licensing Board, which have a separate lounge area, which is physically separated from the regular dining room so that Keno can be restricted to that area. No unaccompanied minors may enter the lounge area. No person under 18 may play Keno, and no restaurant shall have more than 2 Keno monitors. So turning to the layout of the restaurant, I would note that Echo Bridge has a CV as well as a liquor license and does meet the remaining criteria. There are 2 entrances off of Chestnut Street. The main entrance is here, and there's a separate entrance which goes into the lounge. As the patron enters, there are 2 dining areas to the left and then the bar lounge to the right. The bar is already restricted to adults only. And here are the 2 Keno screens which are proposed. And with that, I think Paul is going to tell you a little bit more about the restaurant.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, so basically, again, I'm third generation. My grandfather started with along with his brother Mario, so John and Mario, back in 1962. Took over what was at the time Daly's Echo Bridge Cafe, which had closed. We've been running it ever since, 63 years. The one thing that we were taught is to give our customers what they want. And our number one ask has been Keno. The main reason it's just coming about now is there was a state law on the books that didn't allow if you had an immediate family member to hold a lottery license. They've just changed that as of January 1st. They have to live in the same household. So now we meet the criteria, we've applied, and we're hoping that we can get it passed to give our customers what they look for.
We also wanted to mention that the chamber sent in a letter of support for this petition, which I believe was distributed to the committee, and that I sent out this afternoon a petition that Paul had his customers sign, and 65 Newton residents signed a petition in support of this use.
We did receive both of those today.
Great.
Little last minute, but we did receive them.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay, planning.
Okay, good evening again, Madam Chair and councilors. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. All right. So here we are. I will proceed with the planning presentation for petition 188-25 for 1064 1070 Chestnut Street, requesting a special permit approval to allow Keno use for an existing restaurant business. As you'll see from the aerial map that was shared earlier by Ms. Adams, the property is located in a Business 1 district. It's situated at the intersection of Chestnut and Elliott Street in the Newton Upper Falls Local Historic District. The property is currently improved with a one-story commercial building that serves as a restaurant and lounge. The zoning in the immediate area and surrounding neighborhood is mixed, including Business 1, Multi-Residence 1, 2, and 3, and manufacturing zones. And the zoning relief requested is for an approval to allow Keno use in the lounge of the restaurant. This requires relief per sections 4.4.1 and special conditions per section 6.10.2. Criteria to consider for this proposal is if the specific site is an appropriate location for Keno use, the proposed Keno use as developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood, that there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, and that the access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. An additional criteria to consider pursuant to section 6.10.2 that Ms. Adams also mentioned earlier is that the restaurant business has to have obtained the requisite licensure, that the restaurant business has a lounge or similar area within the premises that is separated from the regular dining area where Keno will take place, that the restaurant and business does not permit minors to access to without a parent or adult guardian to enter or stay in the restricted lounge, and that signs will be posted to this effect, that persons under 18 years of age are prohibited from participating in Keno, and finally that there are no more than 2 video monitors for broadcast or closed circuit transmission of Keno in the said lounge. Planning also has no major concerns and notes that the land use of this site will remain the same in a BU1 zone, that the submitted floor plan complies with the specific conditions of Keno use, that the addition of Keno will increase the amenities of the city, and that the addition of Keno will allow the business owner to expand and diversify their operations, as mentioned, and that the expansion of use will be contained within the existing footprint of the building. That concludes the planning presentation, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on this? Sure, well, Mr. Neville, we'll start with you.
I've lived in Upper Falls since 1965.
Just give us your name and address.
I'm sorry. Jack Neville, 68 High Street, in Upper Falls. I moved to Upper Falls in 65 when I got married. I came from Newtonville my whole life, so Kevin back. And so one thing about Virgilio's restaurant was when I moved up in 65, the only place you could bring a family member was to that restaurant, because there was nothing in Upper Falls. So 2 other area bars, they were actually hardcore bar rooms. And Virgilio's was always a family affair. You could had older people, you had young families with kids. It was always a friendly atmosphere. So I'm only here to really tell you that they were a part of Upper Falls my whole career. And they did a great job. Everybody. They were good to the neighborhood. They were good to, they did throw fundraisers for people, and they do all kinds of good stuff. They didn't brag. They're not braggers. You never hear about that stuff. They just do it. So I hope you
Thank you, Mr. Neville. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Matthew Malone. I hope this August committee will let me speak. I am no longer a resident of the great city.
Of course, go ahead. You can still give us your address.
My address is 141 Walworth Street in Rosendale, but I lived from birth up through my 20s at 68 High Street, 24 Indiana Terrace, and 69 Rockland Place, all in Newton Upper Falls. I actually served my country as a combat veteran with an address in Upper Falls. Mayor Mann gave me the keys to the city in 1991, which I'm very proud of still. I'm a public servant for the last 30 years. I've served as the superintendent of schools in Swampscott, Saugus, city of Brockton, and the city of Fall River, and I served as Governor Patrick's Secretary of Education, which leads me to say to you that as someone that's been a steward of the public's trust and the public dollar, I cannot state more strongly that this business is a great business for the city of Newton and the community of Newton Upper Falls. Newton Upper Falls is a special place, very unique to everyone who grew up there and came from that community. Virgilio was a gathering place. It's a place where after funerals, weddings, first communions, bar mitzvahs, whatever, families congeal there and come together with folks they grew up with. And it's the most unique place in the city of Newton. So I said I lived in Rosendale, and in full disclosure, I am 3 years, 7 months, 10 days sober. I don't drink, but I go to Virgilio's because it's a place to gather with friends and family. It's a family-owned business. I think Keno will allow for greater prosperity for the entire community. I think it will be used safely. This family is probably the best family in the community, the Virgilio family. I don't think there's ever been a fight or a bad word said in that restaurant. I think the lounge is an ideal place. The way he's got it set up is ideal for full operation. And I think you could trust and bestow upon the Virgilio family that they will honor the integrity of the license and serve in the best interest of the community and ensure that there is no nefarious behavior or any of the other things that people would construe with Keno. I can't state strongly enough again that the city of Newton will benefit from this, and I'm blessed to be able to have friends like the Virgilio family who have kept a business open, an icon in the city of Newton. There's only a few icons left. Newton doesn't have many of them. Cabot's and Virgilio's. And we got to make sure that we can sustain these businesses because it's so much more than just a business. It's a gathering place that allows Newtonians to return home and celebrate what it meant to be a proud product of this city. Thank you very much.
Perfect, 3 minutes exactly. For anyone else looking, there is a little timer up there that will help you keep within the 3 minutes. You must have rehearsed that. Sounds it. I'd like to welcome Councilor Getz from Ward 5, who has joined us in the room too. Anyone else in this room who would like to speak on this? Mr. Clay? You don't have to.
No, I do, but I'm so happy you're in this room. I spent 32 years here in this room. I'm former Alderman Paul Committee. I've represented this area since 1977 and to the time I retired in 2009. But my affection goes all the way back to when Alpha Industries was located across the street in the mall. And every day I used to come across the street from Alpha and get the 99-cent steak special every day for lunch. And that's how I got this food. But I would tell you, I did not know at the time that my sister would marry Mr. Virgilio, and that he would be their first son, who became Paul Virgilio, my godson. I would just tell you that they've been so good to the neighborhood, not just Newton, but Needham also. Everybody, enjoys coming to Echo Bridge. It's a perfect location. The parking is unbelievable. You can see they have an abundance of parking. You're not going to see any kind of issues with speed, traffic, or anything like that. Another thing that no one talks about, I know they hire most of the people, the waitresses and people who work there from the neighborhood. And it's a great place for the young people to have their first job. And they're welcoming to just about everybody that comes in. Sometimes when I go in, I used to get asked lots of questions about what the city was doing. So I used to have whole court there sometimes. It was a wonderful place to get the message out to people. So I would hope that you consider it. And, there's not an abundance of these in the city. It's not like we're proliferating them. And we've got a couple of few things over the years that has enhanced the city. I was there to speak in favor of the marijuana dispensary, and there's a little area there where people gather. And this is similar to, what's happening now. People need to have a place where they can feel comfortable and safe. So I hope you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coletti. Anyone else in the room want to talk on this particular proposal? Yes, sir.
Hi, 1076 Chestnut Street. So,
What's your name?
Robert Copeland. I'm the only house that actually borders the restaurant. And I've been there 30 years, not one problem, so in favor.
Thank you so much. Vern Porter, I see your hand raised on the Zoom call.
Mute, thank you. Let me put on video. There we go. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say, I think this is a great place. I mean, full disclosure, my office is in their building. It's been it's been over there for over 25 years, but since then, this building and these guys and that neighborhood, I've actually moved back to Newton. I spent 29 years. I grew up in Newton, but I spent 29 years in Natick. But because of this neighborhood and these guys, I actually moved back. So I live at 324 Elliott Street now. And I've been there, I think, 7 or 8 years now. It seems like yesterday, but great family, great place. Everyone that goes there loves it. And whatever we can do to help them out, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Anybody else from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Alicia Carrera, 35 Oak Street in Memphis Falls. I am here for another issue, but I'm glad to I just like to comment that I have lived at that address for 6 decades. And as Mr. Moon said, and the other speakers, it's a family-oriented restaurant. And it's safe, it's pleasant, and it services many different occasions, whether it's after a funeral, a wedding, a Friday night celebration. And they have absolutely delicious food, and it's very receptive. And again, I think that the focus on it being a family-centered, safe environment, and it is an icon, and we have to maintain, preserve Memphis Falls with all those virtues that you listed also. So thank you, and I'm glad that I could be here, and it's such a delicious pizza. Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Now you got your beavers out saying nice things about the restaurant, so when you testify in the next one, you'll be not nervous at all. Okay, I think we've heard from anyone from the public who would like to speak, so let's bring it into the committee. Committee members? Councilor Lucas first, then Farrell, then Loretta.
Thank you. Yes, I think this is a good addition to the restaurant. It was nice to hear that there are so many people who said so many nice things about you and your family over the years. I have, I've played Keno once before in my life. It wasn't in Newton, but I did have fun playing it. I don't know how much money I lost, but that's neither here nor there. But I will be voting for it. Thank you.
Councilor Farrell?
I'm sorry, Chair, I have to stand up on this one, and I apologize, I don't remember your last name. Oh, Mr. Malone, first and foremost, please congratulate you on 3 years, 7 months and 10. Absolutely fabulous, wonderful. Secondly, I'm really happy that I can have coffee at Bettina's, lunch at Dungarron, and now come over to after these interminable meetings at City Hall. Should have some goes to go and have a little nightcap and play a little tea. I'll be voting for the closing.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell. Laredo and then Lopez.
I'll be really great, just great, very happy to support the neighborhood. To see so many people come out to the point, but that's really a tough and to running a great thing.
Councilor Lopez.
So I'll be supporting this as well. I was very moved by the comments that people made and the commitment to me as well. But I do have a question. I'm just curious, how do you screen people for age? Where does that happen?
So with this,
And especially now with the new Keno, is that going to change in any way?
so what we will actually do to keep it all uniform is obviously for liquor, we have to screen, whether it's your server, your bartender, whoever's serving you alcohol. The age will stay the same for 21 for also Keno and alcohol, so it keeps our job a lot easier. We don't need 18-year-olds in there playing Keno.
Okay.
So whoever your server of your ticket would be the one check for age.
Thank you.
Yeah, well.
Councilor Downs, this is in your ward too.
It is, and the Ward 5 counselors have twice in 2 separate sessions opposed Keno coming into Lower Falls. It wasn't in that case at this particular location. Our concerns are with the addictiveness of gambling, and our thoughts are, that we don't need another way to deprive people of their, trick people out of their money. How much would Keno bring in for Virgilio's? I mean, I assume there's a rental involved with that, and they pay you some money toward that?
As far as I know, being new to Keno itself, I could not give a number as to what would bring in. But I will guarantee the majority will be the business that we do now, which is food and beverage. Keno is just an addition so that people who, even from outside the city, bring their money to the city to have a good time.
Right.
It just happens to be like the number one phone call that we take. And again, a lot of those people are from outside the city that want to come to join the new community and get what we do for pizzas, food. So Keno would be a minor addition in terms of profit or money, if that's what you're looking. That's a question you have. But there's no way for me to tell what that would actually be being new to the whole setup.
Yeah, my suspicion is that people would come and play Keno and not do a whole lot of buying of food and beverage. I'm not going to support this. It looks like I'm pretty much outvoted on the committee so far. But I can't, in good conscience, do this for this establishment when we've opposed it almost unanimously or entirely unanimously in the past. And if you wanted to put in a pool hall or some, a pool table or some other games that don't involve losing money, I would support that. But I can't support Keno.
Thank you, Councilor Down. Councilor Block, I see your hand up, but we have some other councilors here from Ward 5 in the room who I'm going to call on first, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'll go first. So Councilor Humphrey, also Ward 5, building on what Councilor Downs said, I would consider not just for this, but in general, that Keno is something that would adversely affect this neighborhood, pretty much any neighborhood in the city. I think it's adverse for the community as a whole. Councilor Getz and I spoke against at the licensing commission. As Councilor Downs mentioned, we had also opposed a prior proposal from a different applicant, and that was blocked, I think, at the licensing commission level, didn't even make it to the state level. And it's concerning, I think, that there were a lot of good reasons and a lot of community opposition presented at that, but that has not been reflected in this particular case. I think perhaps because of political connections, unfortunately, and I think that the effects are still adverse to the neighborhood regardless. We're talking about something that's a seemingly, as we've just heard, fairly minor addition in terms of revenue, is taking money out of the community, taking it elsewhere. And it's a particularly, I think, pernicious form of gambling because it's something that cycles every, I think 3 minutes. So people can, bet again. We're having a lot of social problems right now around the sports betting apps that have a very similar issue. I'm not saying that this particular, action is where we solve this problem, but I don't want to make the problem worse. And I think elected officials have really fallen short in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in particular on dealing with gambling and gambling addiction issues. And so, for those reasons and the reasons that Councilor Downs said, I also would encourage us to not approve this. And I think there's, as Councilor Downs said, plenty of things that restaurants can do to come up with ideas that promote community and bring people in and bring in more money. This is a way of taking money out of the community and not even for the benefit of the owners who are in the community, but for the benefit of the state lottery. For me.
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Councilor Brooks, did you want to speak also?
Well, I did join it because of the license.
But we weren't there, so.
No, and
Here's
I
your time.
unfortunately didn't see the initial presentation here because I knew that in the special permit process, there's a criteria and stipulations in terms of just even where it's located within the facility. I don't know if you guys discussed that.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so.
Okay, all right. But, at this stage of the game, I would really like to be supportive of the community, in terms of, the desire for it. But I too, have family members that are in public health. And I just sort of feel as if we need to be cautious about, bringing into the community commingling of gambling and alcohol consumption. And so I feel as if, I need to abstain on this vote right now because I need to now do a little bit deeper dive.
Well, you don't get to.
I don't even get, correct, but I know it's gonna come as a full council. And, but I do not like, and I can practically speak to what I've seen in the Southwest. In terms of, people in poverty, putting in casinos and they're the last people that need to be here.
Thank you, Councilor Gibb. Councilor Block and then Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to reflect on the pros and cons of legalized gambling in this country. I will just say that I understand that the Upper Falls Area Council has discussed this at length and that they support this application. And I defer to the Area Council's discussion. I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Block. Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just lost the page, but you guys can hear me, right? So I will be voting in support of this. However, I share the concerns about gambling. I'm not a fan of gambling. I don't normally would support it, but I think this needs to be dealt with at the state level and not at the local level. So and because we've heard a lot of neighbors who do support it. It's a long-term local restaurant. I will support it in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments in the room at the table? Well, we don't usually call it people twice, but go ahead. Yeah.
Councilor Towns, right?
Yes.
Referred to 2 licenses in the Upper Falls. I'd like to know where the second one is.
The other one she was talking about was at the liquor store. They lost that proposal.
These are applications.
That is
No, Upper Falls.
Next to the.
02461. That's 02461.
What ward is it in?
Where? So what 5?
Okay.
02461. We're 02464. Upper Falls. They always say that.
Yeah. I appreciate that point. I often remind people, however, that like ward and zip codes are just numbers on paper, and we're talking about a neighborhood and a community here. So I think this is close enough to be considered Upper Falls.
Those both things we were talking about were Upper Falls. They're in both of them are Upper Falls Historic District.
Okay.
What do you mean? No, they're not. It's a matter of fact.
I'd explain very easily.
Let's not take too much time on
No,
this.
but when the New England Pipe, Concrete Pipe Company closed and the Stop and Shop was being proposed, okay? It was ultimately defeated because there were 2 aldermen who voted against it. The alderwoman from Ward 8, Fay Cohen, and myself from Ward 5 on the opposite side of the road. Needham Street is split between 2 wards. And just because Upper Falls liquor stores, that's because the original owner lived in Upper Falls, Mr. Mooney, and wanted it to relate to himself.
Talking about Petty Square.
He owns
In Petty Square.
We're talking about
yeah, when
Petty
people were
Square.
talking about Upper Falls.
No, we're talking about Petty Square. You know about
CVS.
I'm not.
CVS.
Yeah, no, but I'm just talking about.
The one next to the Pizza Place, but I think we're all set with this. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole any further, but I appreciate what you're trying to parse here, different people. I think we've heard from everyone who wants to speak. I'm just going to say a few words. Like some of the other councilors who spoke, I am generally not in favor of Keno. Along with my Ward 3 councilors, we have voted against it at several instances in West Newton Square. But I've been reminded that really each proposal is site specific, and I was impressed by the testimony of many of the neighbors and customers and owners who came tonight. I've been there. I thought the pizza was fine. It looked like the kind of neighborhood joint that I wouldn't necessarily go into because I don't live in that part. And I went in and I was surprised at how comfortable and family oriented and welcoming it can. So the outside didn't reveal to me how it felt on the inside. That's just my own experience there. However, like some of the counselors said, Keno is gambling. And I'm also from a family who, my husband and kids and family ran 5 restaurants, and we looked at Keno because, first of all, we wanted an extra income source. And there are proportions, like I think you can gauge what you think you're going to get out of this. When you say you have no idea, it's hard for me to imagine that you would have gotten this far without having a sense of how much more income stream you'd be getting. And I thought someone mentioned today that the city gets a piece of it too. So there's a city benefit. Does anyone know? Is this?
The city at this point gets $7 million a year unsolicited funds from the master. 7 million. 7 million.
From the lottery?
You can find that on the lottery website.
Yeah, so adding each, I don't know. So apparently there will be a benefit, some kind of level benefit to this particular business. It's been stated there are other ways of increasing your business and creating, a family oriented space. It's not really a family activity. I'm concerned about the gambling aspects of it, the addictive aspect of it, the preying on people who can often at least afford to lose that much money. Even Councilor Lucas told me his story about playing Keno today, and he said one of his friends made like $200, but he has no idea how much he lost that day. So there's that aspect of it. I'm also not a gambler. I've been trying to weigh the public benefit of Keno, which I don't see much of, honestly. I do hear that it would help this particular restaurant, but I wanted to go on the record just expressing my concerns about it for public welfare. Honestly, that's not one of our criteria actually tonight, is to say what is the balance of public welfare. Does it get served? I don't think it does, but I'm impressed by you folks who showed up and the nice things you have to say about Echo Bridge. And I think I'm probably going to vote against it just for the balance that I don't think, as we look out for the benefit and the welfare of the residents and the neighbors, I'm not sure that is outweighed by the benefit that you are not even sure what you'll be getting. But I am impressed by the loyalty you have of your supporters. So Ward 5, Councillor Downs, do you want to make a motion on this? What?
I will make a motion to deny. If you have somebody else who wants to speak, though, you can go ahead. Close the public hearing and deny.
There's one more hand at the table. Would you just like to wait 1 minute? Sorry, Councillor Lucas.
Sure.
I was gonna make a motion to approve since that's gonna pass, so. I don't,
Normally I would go with the ward councillor. Councillor Downs, are you okay with Councillor Lucas making this motion?
Sure.
Okay, Councillor Lucas, make your motion, please.
move to close the public hearing, move for approval.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We do have some findings and conditions. Sandria, one thing I would like to ask you before you read those to us or show those to us, I was asked at the table by some of the land use committee members, why does Keno come before the land use committee?
Very interesting question, Madam Chair. Well, there are particular conditions to the use of Keno, and I know that that's also listed under section 6.10.2. But I imagine it's because it's a special use that needs to be approved. I'm not sure if anyone else in planning has any additional reason why it's included in our zoning ordinance.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm not sure of the history on when Keno was incorporated into the zoning ordinance, but when it was contemplated that it would be allowable only by special permit in certain zones. So I think other uses that fall under that sort of idea are ATMs. Those can sometimes require a special permit. I could probably find more, but I think whenever maybe Keno was popular and wanted to be more vetted or conditioned, then it was adopted into the zoning, but by special permit, to leave it up to the discretion of the city council.
You know, we do auto licensing too. So there are a few odd things that come our way, but the question was raised tonight, so I wanted to put it out there publicly. Okay, we also now have a motion. We're gonna look at your findings and conditions now that you answered the question about why we need to weigh in on this. Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yes, thanks.
The draft order. Just let me know if you can't see it. But we have here the findings, which are that the specific site is an appropriate location for the proposed Keno use, as the use satisfies the additional regulations set forth and is contained within the existing footprint of the business. The proposed Keno use as developed and operated will not adversely affect the neighborhood because the proposed use is contained within the existing footprint. That the proposed Keno use will not be a nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, and that the proposed Keno use will preserve appropriate access to the site over streets for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, because the proposed use does not alter the site. And here we have the applicant's information, and then we have the set of standard conditions, with item 1 being the standard plan referencing condition, item 2 the building permit condition, and item 3 the standard occupancy permit condition. I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Happy to answer any questions. Yep.
We now have a motion on the floor to approve this proposal. Let's take a roll call vote on that.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
No.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
No.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Leary.
She said
I was an aye.
The sound in the room isn't too good for me, just FYI, but I wanted to make that
Art?
point. It's a
Art?
little fuzzy.
Not good? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Counselor Lubowitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-2.
Will you put it on a second call, please?
Thank you.
Well, that was a solid vote for you folks, and it'll be on second call and it will come to the full council next. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of you for showing up.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next and final item for the night is number 190-25.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Still talking.
Again, everyone.
No, 1988.
Well, it's just so wild. It's in this little room. All right.
Chair, or what do you have to do? Okay. Goodbye to the Echo Beach people. Final item number 190-25, which is a request to change from a non-conforming warehouse use to a multi-family dwelling to increase height, to waive certain dimensional requirements relative to parking, and to allow a freestanding sign at 44 Oak Street. And we have been joined at the table by the representative of this project, our esteemed colleague, Terry Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Well, first I'd like to have permission for the team to share the screen.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of concern about this building. It's a much cherished icon in the neighborhood. The current owners, Bob Chichetti, I think, has been a faithful steward of the building for the better part of 3 decades. And we're really pleased to be able to come to before you with a proposal to give the building new life. and contribute to the neighborhood. One of the, as we all know, one of the critical concerns that people have when you have residential development in the neighborhood is the number of units and how that's going to impact the land use patterns in the neighborhood. We're pleased to say that given the size of this building and the size of the site, almost 28,000 square feet, to put 6 units in this building is there were challenges to be able to do that. One of the things is that there are very few windows in the building. The building is unique in the sense that I don't know whether it was cited in the Guinness Book of World Records, but it was certainly cited for the unusual feature of being accessible from each 6 different levels. And the building was built originally, it had in fact 6 different levels. I think the upper level flooring might have deteriorated. We have tried to honor that, as you'll see when we present the actual plan, where we enter the building at different elevations depending upon where we are. And you will see on the screen the plans that were approved. It's a 47 sheet, 47-9 sheet. If you have, we're not going to go through all 49 sheets, but it's indicative of the depth of level of detail that has gone into looking at the proposal to renovate this building. One of the nice features about it is when you have to go through it being in a historic district, when you have to go through the historic district commission, there's a level of review and neighborhood involvement that precedes the normal neighborhood involvement you see in the land use committee. And it's actually to a greater depth because you're basically taking the building apart figuratively and putting it back together. And there's no stone left unturned.
Speaking of that, I wonder if while you're talking, rather than looking at Hollywood Squares, could you put up, or could Mariana put up just the image of the outside to remind us all what this building is from the outside and why it's called the Stone Barn?
Yeah, one of the colored renderings.
Or a photo.
Or photo.
Yeah, photo would be great, just as backdrop for this chat.
One of the concerns, obviously, is changes that are being made to the building, and for that reason, there will be a need to look at the before and the after. I apologize, I did produce these handouts. But I only have some. I produced these handouts so you could actually look from each of the 4 elevations, and each of the 4 elevations, and you can compare them each with the proposed with the existing. You might have to share some. Apologize for that.
Mariana, could you pull up that photograph while we're talking?
Yeah.
Hold on, because I actually got close to there.
It's NBT, right?
Yes, NBT, these have been arranged basically for the west existing and west proposed elevations, and they're paired off. If you want to take a closer look at how the buildings are. One of the challenges, again, and those concerns, I know that Councilor Getz was a participant at the district commission process and was concerned about changing any of the stonework on the building. This is historically known as the Stone Barn, and of course, one of the challenges is how do you make this residential use. In fact, there are limited spaces where you can actually put windows. For that reason, you'll see on both the north and south ends of the buildings, when we look at that there were windows there created, and also light wells along the, I forget what the architectural term is for, but I'm sure that the team will pick me up on that. The light wells on both sides of the building were expanded to allow light to come in at that location. On the back, there were a lot of historically, I remember when people had come before the Historic District Commission years ago to try to, they proposed, actually, I had proposed to put dormers. Dormers were purposely not allowed on the Oak Street side of the building because that's the main face of the building.
And we made every effort to try to preserve the historic base of the building. However, the commission did show considerable flexibility on the back side of the building by expanding on those light wells and also allowing for a dormer on the east elevation.
Sorry, Madam Chair, was there supposed to be a screen? I thought they were gonna share their screen because
Mariana, a couple of times, if she would please put that photograph of the building up. Mariana, can you hear us?
Did you desert me?
Can you hear us? Did you leave Mr. Morris all on his own? Mariana, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you now. I'm sorry, there was a problem that we can not understand what it was talking about there. Sorry about that. So Mariana Tagati and Ron Yarek, and can I please share the screen? I don't think I have the ability yet to do that.
No? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now better. Yes.
Right now, Council Terry Morris is doing his presentation, but what we've asked in the meantime while he's talking is if you could put a photograph of the outside of the building up and screen share that so we can be looking at and be reminded of what the structure looks like.
Of course, yes.
And then when it's done, then we will go to you for your presentation.
Is it sharing now? Can you see?
Yes.
Now? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Sorry about
photograph of the outside.
No, let me go back because I was trying to check on other pictures if there was a problem there. Now, can you see the existing structure pictures?
Close enough. Thank you. Now, Mr. Morris,
Perfect.
we'll come back to you.
We're looking at the south face of the structure, accessible from Oak Street. Perhaps we could go around the building, could you, Mariana?
Yes.
Why don't we go right to the this is the neighborhood. Neighborhood context is very important when you're going through the Crystal Commission. Next slide. Here we have neighborhood. Let's go right to the elevation. There we go. This is the one we have handouts. This is the west face. West face of the building. And that's 513. If you bring up 513, you'll give the proposed face of the building.
Go to 13.
513. Yeah, can you, we'll request the zoom in on this, or we have a greater, that's one reason why it's here.
Make it bigger.
We can expand that, Ariana, please.
If I make one more time,
Probably be good.
Yeah. One more text.
Is that okay? As big as this?
No, he wants one more.
One more.
Yeah.
Five.
Looking for small lot. You know, 'cause I have incredible photos in this building.
Okay, well, let's continue with their presentation.
Is that okay this side?
Yeah, I wanted to actually bring up a number of things, one of the issues actually. One of the issues of this site was the extensive asphalt that exists on the site. Can you go to the existing conditions plan? Burn.
Yeah, we're putting it up during.
Okay. Here we go.
That is hard to see on the screen.
Is this large enough to see?
All right.
It's too big.
This is the existing building here. Oak Street, we have access. Can't see it here, but we have access. This is a concrete drive that actually there's parking here and there's an entry into the building here. There's a driveway that goes all the way down around to the back of the site. Could you raise this site up so we get the picture of the site? This is the extent of asphalt, this dashed line, all through here. That
Teresa with the
Uh,
maps.
and which actually, this is lot 22A. This is also, this is not part of the development, but it is owned by the same owner, and it has a significant stone building on that location as well, with a Cliff Road address. I should have pointed out that there's a 20-foot grade elevation from 139 to 162 at one end of the building, from the south end of the building to the north end of the building on Cliff Road, which contributes to the fact that we had to. This is a hill here, which was basically taken out so that we could put parking here at this location. One of the existing conditions plans that exists, given all this asphalt and given its use in commercially, was that a parking space here that accommodates 26 vehicles. This is particularly important because we have significantly reduced this asphalt.
Attorney Morris, yeah, question, did you meet with the Ward 5 council on the project?
No, we did not, but Council Getz was.
Have we met with the neighbors about this project?
We did meet with several neighbors, our meeting was on this project.
Did you have any kind of neighborhood meeting?
That was not necessary because going to the Historic District Commission, all of the neighborhood got public notice of this at the very outset.
I'm gonna be a part of it.
I know what you're gonna say, but can I just?
You haven't met with the Ward 5 council, okay? You haven't had a community-wide meeting on this, okay? That's something we ask for on a regular basis with projects.
I understand that.
And that was done.
Conversation in the past, and I just like to.
Well, I won't be prepared to move for this
I
tonight.
appreciate that. I'm not proud, but I appreciate the position. The district commission is comprised of 7 members, all of whom participated in this over 4 months. 4 months. At the very outset of this process, public notice was given to everybody. People who were interested came and participated, and those people who expressed had issues or questions, we resolved those. So that function, that this has a built-in network when you basically have 7 neighborhood representatives on a body that's treating these plans. Yet we made we did not have a quote-unquote neighborhood meeting. We had, in essence, we had 7 of them because we met every month for that period of time since mid last year. So I'm suggesting to you that you may be exalting form over substance in this regard, because there was considerable exposure of this building and this project throughout the neighborhood. So I don't think we had to be faulted for not going through the
I just want to
functionality.
interject here for a second because as Mr. Morrison and I talked about this earlier today, this is a very typical question that we ask all the time. Here at the table, we have some Ward 5 councilors who were expressing incredulity that they were not involved in this too, and we have an across the street neighbor who said she was never approached, right across the street.
And I have.
Right here in this room
And I have
tonight, we have people saying that they were not involved.
I've never met you before, sir. I didn't even know. Hello. No.
Did you know of the historic district commission meetings going on? Did you get notice of those?
I received notes, yes.
You did?
Well, no, I received some mailings. I could get them. I have everything with me.
I'm not putting you on the spot, but I
I-
suspect if you were in butter, you would have
But
gotten notice.
other than with Ms. Getz and then the historic commission, I have submitted letters. They were read at the meeting.
Right.
But I know I've never spoken with you before, or I don't, that's why I'm here tonight, to give my.
So she's here to testify. I'm just saying, there are almost half the people in the room who were involved in this project who felt like they were not involved in this project. I think it's a problem when we expect neighbors to look up stuff or follow things on their own. That's why when a developer and owner makes direct contact with people, knocks on doors, sends letters, leaflets, whatever, that is a way for them to know about stuff. Asking her, I think, whether she knew about the historic district commission meetings, it's not up to her to know about that. It's up to this owner and this developer to reach out to people who live very close like that. And that is, as you know, because you've been with us a lot, a question that we always ask and we want to see done. So let's just put that to rest for now. If the point has been raised, you will still have a chance to read your letter later. Thank you for speaking that you didn't know anything about it. Let's proceed with this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's a significant reduction in the asphalt on this site. It's important because you did receive a letter. Wait, you did receive a letter from Mr. Miller, who lives at 16 Sharma Park. I did send.
No, I want to comment just in the sense of what we're discussing right now, because I took the initiative over the weekend to go to the doors, to knock on the doors, to find out if the butters had been noticed. And a few of them, specifically Alicia Kerr, had received the Historic District Commission information in terms of that process. But many of it's access to the information that's the issue. Because
Okay. I really don't think we should be proceeding any further tonight. I'm going to ask that we hold the item, have your neighborhood meeting, sit down and talk to the Ward 5 councilors, and then come back to us when you're ready. I'm going to move to hold.
It's objective.
Yeah. Oh, wait, our clerk is reminding us that we have not even opened the public hearing yet on this, which we need to do.
Fine.
So it's been noticed, but we have not opened the public hearing, and I
The
know
public
this.
hearing, move to keep it open, and then move to hold the item.
Okay, a motion has been made. I would also like to let you speak tonight because you've come and you've prepared something, if we think that's appropriate. Let's vote first on opening the public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I see hands are raised on the screen. Things are getting testy here tonight. And we have a motion to hold.
We can have the public hearing and hear people
Yes.
come out tonight from.
I see the hands on the screen, and there's someone who's been very patient sitting in this lovely air-conditioned room all night. So public hearing is open. Let's hear from the members of the public who are here, and then we will vote on holding this for another day. Would you like to speak first, because you've been so patient for so long?
Just wanted to
Stop screen sharing then so I can see. I feel very handcuffed between the poor sound and I can't see anything. So I can see who's talking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Can I ask you how the sound is? You said before you are having difficulty hearing what's being said in this room?
Yes. The sound is not clear and crisp. And if anyone's further away from this table, I not only can I see them, but I can't really hear them very well either. This is a terrible room for hearing, and I usually am always in person, as you know, and I'm sorry that I can't be there tonight.
Well, the room we wanted were taken, so this was the best we could do tonight. But I hear Councilor Maliki giving the thumbs up. She's also saying it is hard to hear. That's good for us to know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for those of you who are having difficulty hearing us. We're now going to hear from a member of the audience here who's in the butter. So please.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that the
Can I
papers
ask a
that.
question?
No,
Is there a speaker? No, is there a speaker that you can stand closer to so people can hear?
Okay, I can speak louder if that's good.
And if we could also get name and address, please.
I'd like to do that. I just wanted to say that the papers that you have now, that is your memo, contains a lot more specific information than I ever saw or received before. So in fairness, I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that to you, sir, so that you making sure, you asked me, and also just about me knowing so that I could respond greatly too. But I think that the papers that you have from your, sorry, okay, I'll get right to it.
If you want to grab a copy of the agenda while you're here, you can find all those drawings and information in the land use memo available to you to see also. But before you start, do give us your name and address.
Yeah, okay, and I put that in, that's part two.
Okay.
I'm a teacher of many years, almost 40 years, and so that I worked very diligently on this essay, so I didn't realize there was a time limit, but it's written in cursive, so it looks longer than it is, all right? So thank you very much, Ned. My name is Alicia Kerr, 35 Oak Street, Newton Upper Falls. And I just, again, teacher part of me, but also the member of the Newton Upper Falls Historic District. Good evening, and may I sit?
You can sit or
would you like
stand,
me to stand?
whatever
What's
works
best?
well for you.
As an American, I realize how grateful I am for this opportunity to have the freedom of speech and the recognition of individual rights, and to express my and others' concerns in resistance to the unfavorable, disruptive proposal to our Upper Falls Village, especially the living conditions of the Oak Street, Cliff Road, Shawn Ave property owners. And I do appreciate your service, and I've watched you all tonight, and it's impressive. And as a history teacher, it's good to see. I appreciate your service, and I'm hopeful that you will hear and give serious consideration to the resistance of the property owners of this section of Upper Falls Village. We oppose the petition of structural changes and the implementation of 6 units in one contained building, which could have a profoundly negative effect on our quaint, cozy, historic village area. And I'm speaking now of all of Upper Falls, but then in specific, this territory of Oak Street, Shawn Ave, and Side Street. Sorry. Previously, we opposed the petition of structural change to the implementation of 6 units in one building, which could have a profoundly negative effect on our historic area. Previously, when this issue was raised and incidentally previously denied by the city, our dear departed, faithful, outstanding, lifetime resident and city councilor, Brian Yates, who knew his constituents and he walked the neighborhood. He was vehemently opposed and felt it would cause disruption, congestion, and an imbalance to the long-time Upper Falls Oak Street historic setting, and reduce the character and image of the specific area. My name is Alicia Kerr. I live at 35 Oak Street. I live directly across from this location of 45 Oak Street, and I also live in a designated historic home, and I'm aware of restrictions, guidelines, etc. I've lived there for over 6 decades, thus I feel comfortable in assessing this proposal, which could taint the context, the ambiance, and the daily living conditions with the inclusion of 6, that's 6 in number, units. I question also.
I hate to do this to you, but I want to point out to you that you have gone over 3 minutes, so speed read. We want to hear your points, and you've been very patient. And we appreciate you being here.
I will. I question the term multifamily for 6 units. It's more apparent than it seems like apartment complex in one building within the neighborhood of mostly single homes and scattered 2-family houses. 6 units, potentially numerous occupants. Also, why the need for a sign? None of us have signs in front of our homes. Oak Street is the gateway of Upper Falls from Elliott Street to Needham Street. Our street is traveled daily by fire engines, emergency vehicles, MBTA buses, school buses, with a bus stop right at the corner of Cliff and Oak Street. All travelers need to be able to pass safely, and especially in emergency situations. And we're also anticipating an influx of traffic with the upcoming Needham Street project. Those of us in the immediate neighborhood know better than to park on Oak Street with consideration of safety and accessing accessible traffic flow. The site at issue of the conversion of the 6 units has claimed to provide 12 parking spaces behind the building in an area that will also supposedly have a patio space, and will there be a dumpster there? Does that mean if the total number of occupants exceeds 12 vehicles, 12 spaces, where will all the other occupants park? And then their visitors. Hopefully not on Oak Street, Cliff Road, nor in the adjacent private property of Mary Immaculate Lords. Also, separate vestibule entrances from Oak Street, numerous. I think also it's essential, and I appreciate the time, and I'm going fast. This is also important, I think, to consider and to recognize and note the current businesses and offices, even a Pilates studio at 45 Oak Street, many of whom have been established there for years. They are so considerate, refined, and unobtrusive and respectful businesses, and respect the whole neighborhood. It's really good. Therefore, it's additionally disconcerting to know the disruption to these businesses, their loss of livelihood, and also the contribution to Newton's economy if they are forced to leave. It is essential to note that all the business activities of this building
Ms. Carter.
conclude at 5 p.m. Please,
I know I'm trying to be more than fair because we set a 3-minute limit for everybody. But what I was going to say to you is because this is going to be held, you will have a chance to say all of this. And because they're going to be holding, hopefully, a neighbor meeting, you'll be able to express all of these individual things rather than taking up more than twice the amount of time here tonight. And I don't want to at all be rude. I don't want to
I'm
cut you off.
disappointed that I can't finish.
You can submit the what you've written to our clerk.
And I worked very hard on this, and
No,
I
I saw
patient,
you.
and I watched, and all day in the heat by myself on this. I'm really sorry, and this is disappointing to the reception here. I mean, you couldn't give me that much more time. That's disappointing.
Would you like to submit those comments in writing and we can transcribe them?
Can I read my conclusion sentence? May
Yes.
that be acceptable?
Yes.
Thank you. Many of us feel the threat of a disturbance, a disruption, forced invasion, and noise at any hour. Frankly, it seems a disregard for the historic design in our historic community, identity, and living conditions. Please oppose this change and be vested in the preservation and the recognition of our neighborhood and its historic essence and its established design, spirit, and ambience. Councilor Yates would have also added in the character. Newton prides itself on its village and its identities. Please, let us maintain our identity of our village. And it does take a village to maintain a village. Thank you, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
apologize for not you not being aware that there were time limits to speaking. And I hate to cut you off, but thank you for the effort you put in tonight. Councilor Wazowitz.
I won't be I don't think I'll be at the neighborhood meeting. So it would be helpful if you could put that in writing and send it to the committee so we can all read it.
Or the clerk can transcribe.
Or
Yes.
whatever.
Just give you
Yeah.
It would be-
Do it in person. Yep.
I think she'll read it.
You can read those. Oh, I'm sure. No, I didn't mean that. No,
If it was my source.
My better know.
Don't have to read it.
Do the here.
Can we do that? Can we do that?
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
going to do that.
Great.
I don't have a copy, so.
We could Xerox it.
We could send you back a copy. We can make a copy.
Right, why don't we just give, why don't we copy what she's got? and
Can you
then-
copy it right here tonight, I mean?
Yeah.
For her, so she can.
With you this.
Well, she has to stay, she has to stay during the meeting.
She'll make a copy for you.
Okay.
Take 30 seconds.
Okay. Councilor Lovovich,
Yes.
was that just your point about having her,
Yes.
want that? And
Thank you.
after consideration and a little more time and more plans available to all of you, you may want to adapt what you say and practice it, and it'll be 3 minutes next time you come back. Other comments at the table?
No, I think there are other people.
I know, there are other people there, but I was hand was up here. Melissa Brown?
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Melissa Brown. I live at 949 Chestnut Street. I am a Newton Upper Falls resident. I am not in a butter. I only learned about this project today, and I spent some time looking at the files. I'm very concerned that there is no tree permit at all posted, nor was that in the details of the on the the Newton.gov website, where it asks all the different things. Has it been through Conservation Commission, Historic District? Tree permit isn't even on there. And that's concerning to me because the proposal is to cut 62.5% of the trees, 5 out of 8 trees. And this is in one of Newton's 4 environmental justice neighborhoods, in a census block that treeequityscore.org says has 37% tree canopy cover, well below preferred levels of at least 50% and preferably 60%. So this is going to be having an impact on the larger neighborhood for heat, air quality, and flooding. 2 of the big trees that are slated to be cut, T1 and T2, a 31-inch tree and a 33-inch tree are on the south side of the building, which has the which would have the most effect in terms of heat. That's also where the biggest slope is. So you're going to get a lot more stormwater flooding and runoff by cutting those two very large trees. And so I have a lot of these concerns, and I would urge the land use committee to ask the owners and to prioritize starting with a low impact design, where they do things like saying, okay, you want a patio, well, why not put it in the back so you don't have to cut those 31 and that 32-inch tree. Anyway, I hope you will prioritize that. This taking 62% of the trees off of a property in a zone that only has 37% tree canopy cover and an EJ district is really not a good idea for climate resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mary Lee Belleville. No, we just, I asked.
Mary, sorry. Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Mary Lee Belleville, 136 Warren Street. I have a strong preference to see this building preserved. I've always admired it, but absent landmarking it, the realistic alternative down the road could be to demolish it. So I think the win-win is to see if, you know, the committee can't find that sweet spot. So I support President Laredo's recommendation to hold. I think the committee needs a lot more information, and I think the neighbors need an opportunity for a lot more input. And hopefully we could get to an acceptable solution for this property so that it is preserved. Thanks.
Yep, that's the point of the special permit process, and I think that we're on towards accomplishing that. Robert Cicchetti?
Good evening. I'm the owner of the property, and I recognize everybody's concern, but I just wanted to get a clarification initially as to what we've got. We've got a non-conforming warehouse with trucks, moving vans, delivery stuff, maybe 20, 22 cars in the back where the asphalt is. And there are trucks there at all times of the day and night. It's what it's been used for quite a bit of time. And we said, what's a better use? Because we recognized some of the neighbors didn't like all the trucks. So we said, we're going to go for residential use. And they don't seem to like that either. But you have to be practical. And the most potential viable use is residential. It's about 30,000 square feet of land, and it is in an existing structure. And what we're proposing is to have 6 residences, which would be about 5,000 square feet per residence, which is similar to all the zoning around that general area, and particularly in the historic district. And I'm a little bit of a concern that initially, when we started this in May, first of all, I started this 2021, met with the Historic Commission, and the neighbors all came and said, we don't want this. We were going to do a couple of other buildings, and we were going to do 21 units, and they weren't interested in that. And we heard them loud and clear. And I stayed with what we're doing, and it doesn't make viable sense. And I can't maintain I've had that building for 45 years, and it looks pretty good still, but it's kind of a labor of love, not a big economic success. So what we try to do is say, how are we going to do this so that it would keep the neighbors satisfied and make a little economic sense that we could do it? So the biggest thing that everyone should recognize is that we are going to take a warehouse with the trucking and the delivering and the stuff that goes on, and stop that and put 6 residences similar to what everybody in the neighborhood has. And as I understood it, and I may be wrong, the historic requirement that we started in May, you had to have public notice sent out, and abutters of abutters had to be notified, and were, I believe, by the Historic Commission department. I think it was Barbara Kurz or somebody like that did it. And every time we had not one or two, we had 7 meetings with the Historic Commission, very detailed, very informative, very helpful. And at those, many neighbors showed up, and some neighbors were expressing the same things you're hearing now. Others said that they liked the idea and they recognized the reality of what you could or couldn't do with it. I don't want to go past my buzzer of time, but I wanted to say those kinds of things, that you got to do something with it, you know? And we thought this worked.
Excuse me, I'm just taking it back into the committee here. I appreciate what you want to say, and you're going to be able to do this next time with a few more weeks to prepare. And what you're saying, I think the neighbors do need to be met with. I think talking with them and with the Ward 5 counselors all at the same time will help the next proposal that comes to us. And you and your attorney will be able to present in a more concise, well-organized way what it is we need to hear about the preservation of this building, which I think all of us appreciate. It's a fabulous building and a hard building to deal with, which we all appreciate. Councillor Downs, you had your hand up.
I did, because I was going to point out this is an historic building and one I've watched for a while, and I have no idea how you preserve this unless you make it into housing. And I was quite encouraged to see the plans. Sure, it's great to have a meeting with the neighbors and clear all this up ahead of time, and probably should have been done. But our process shouldn't be so cumbersome. But I will support my colleague from Ward 7's motion to hold.
Well, it would be nice for you and your Ward 5 colleagues and the neighbors to be involved in an early conversation about this too. President Laredo.
I just want to.
Last word.
Last word. I want to be very clear. We're not voicing any opposition to the project per se. I want to be very clear about it. What we are saying is that we have standard operating procedure in this committee that is known by our planning department, by the attorneys who appear before us on a regular basis, that the expectation is that they hold neighborhood meetings, they speak to the counselors in the ward, that they post a hearing sign if one is supposed to be posted, and that makes this process go more smoothly, because we ultimately want and almost always do approve special permit applications in this council. We want people to be able to develop, but we ask that they come here having done their homework so we can do our job better and frankly more efficiently. And I'll leave it at that, and a motion to hold it there.
Councillor Getz.
The only comment I would make is that I've been watching the Upper Falls Historic District Commission review the exterior of this building. And there was no knowing, in terms of the community about now the iteration or the special permit process, because some neighbors were involved, because I attended, quite a few of the meetings. But their purview and what was being reviewed was the integrity of the exterior of what could be seen from the public view. So we're in a completely different track right now, in terms of the community understanding the special permit process. And when I went to the doors this weekend, just to get a sense of where people were in terms of their understanding, they had not even had the opportunity to review documents. So they had no knowing of what's coming, in terms of this project. So I do think there's benefit in terms of having a community meeting, because I was sending people information and, to get, for in their own ability to review the documents, online. So I completely support the idea of having it.
Thank you. Councillor Maliki.
Thank you. I can't even get to the building because I'm kind of basically appalled by the level of proposed tree removal for a building that is essentially not expanding in footprint. In particular, on the, I guess it's the south side, I don't understand why, instead of moving the driveway, the long driveway, all the way out to the property line, which is what requires the removal of the 31-inch tree and 33-inch tree along there. You could save those trees and actually give them more space if you merge the two driveways and utilize that kind of the grassy slope between them, which has no trees on it, and put a new driveway there down to the back. I don't understand why the double trunk tree along Cliff Road would need to be removed, since there's really no construction going on that side as far as I can see. These are huge canopies, and as Ms. Brown mentioned, an environmental justice neighborhood, which is on the short side when it comes to tree canopy, and it's going to have a massive impact on just the heat in the neighborhood, the air quality. It's just not taking into consideration that effect on the neighbors. And it seems to be with the goal of creating, apparently it's 12 parking spaces. So basically kind of literally losing trees to add parking. And I think the whole site plan needs another look that does not cause that impact. Thank you. And I think, and I would advise the applicant to actually go through the tree permit process and see what they would actually be owing in dollars or planting to take down so many really large trees, and also how to make sure that whatever protection plan that they have for the trees that they already intend to keep would be adequate for that protection, especially the 44-inch tree. Councilor Getz sent me a picture of that. That appears to be a red maple. So I would, I would not be willing to support it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I think even though we're holding this and we're not having a full conversation tonight, I did want to hear from the public, and some of these comments hopefully will be helpful to the petitioner team before they come back to us again. Councilor Leary, last word.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. That's exactly my thought. I just wanted to give an opportunity and some guidance to the petitioner when they come back. I am a supporter of housing. We have a housing crisis. I think this could be a good use there, but I share the concerns of Ms. Brown and my colleague, Councilor Maliki. I'd really like them to rethink the design, make sure we're doing pervious surfaces, that we're saving as many trees as possible. This is an area like Nonantum that has a dearth of tree canopy, and we need to be aware of that. So I'd like them to be sensitive to that, and that's what I'll be looking for when they come back before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Leary. I think we're ready to vote on holding this item. I think we could just do a voice vote on that. All in favor of hold, please say aye.
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 Nope, I did not hear anyone who didn't say aye, so that means no one is opposed. We'll hold this. We'll get it on the calendar. Please keep us informed when there's going to be a meeting with neighbors. Get her name and the Ward 5 councilors. Good night, everybody. Go home to your air conditioning home. You want to go here or you think that I can see? Also, Trina, you send some of those photos to the planning department.